Welcome back, everybody, to BFR's Blues Bits. I'm here joined with Griffin Youngs, part of the THPN show Tell It Avs It Is. Griffin, how's it going? Other than, how the game went today, but, it's still pretty fresh in our minds, but how's it going regardless?
I'm doing all right. I'm sitting here taking a deep breath, screaming a little bit on the inside, but we prevail, we push through at the end of the day. My day was going swimmingly before the last 60 minutes, but regardless,
Still, it's got to be a fun day, though, knowing that Avs hockey is finally back, and NHL hockey in general. It's nice to see. We'll go over this game really quickly, period by period. We got a couple questions from some of my followers on Twitter, so we'll get to those as well. But first things first, watching this game, definitely from a Blues perspective, it was obvious the Avs were missing something, especially the first two periods, and that's because they were, McKinnon, Landeskog, both out due to, different circumstances. Won't get into the suspension on Landeskog, really. I'm sure that's a bit of a sore subject, but, what were the Avs really missing that those two players could have brought that would have turned the tide of this game?
And it's not even just McKinnon and Landeskog. Nichushkin's now week to week. We've been missing Devon Toews since the start of the season.
That's true.
I've been talking about this on my show, but it feels like this team is cursed to a certain extent, that we just can't be healthy ever. We just cannot ice a healthy lineup. So you take away the star power of Nathan McKinnon due to COVID protocol. This is likely his last game out. He'll likely be back on Tuesday against Washington. Landeskog, this was his first game missing since the suspension. So you're taking out two of the best players in the lineup, not including Mikko Rantanen, obviously, who played in this game, off of our top line. You take away Val Nichushkin, who we promoted into the top six coming into the season following the departure of Brandon Saad, which I don't need to remind you guys about because you got him. And I'm still bitter about that, but I will leave that there. But we're missing Val, our best defensive forward on the team. We're missing Devon Toews, the other half of our top pair with Cale Makar. Makar, who's still finding his legs after not playing any preseason games. And I never thought I'd say this, but we were also missing Jack Johnson tonight, who also went into COVID protocol. Jack Johnson, who scored that ridiculous goal against Chicago to open our scoring on the entire season.
What a cursed season.
We have that feel-good story for one game, and he is gone immediately because this team is just cursed. So I came into this game with very, very low expectations. I would have been stunned if we pulled this one out. And through the first, I would say 55 minutes, this game was going pretty much exactly how I expected.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I thought the Blues' first 55 minutes, solid. Not spectacular, not like out of the park wonderful, but, it was solid. We were generating chances, even when the Blues, have been known for these second period woes, just the last couple seasons now, especially last season, though. You'd like to see a little bit of improvement generating those chances, and they did. Obviously they got outshot. What was it, like 12-6 in the second, or 13-6? It was ridiculous. The Avs absolutely owned them, it seemed, in the second, but they were still generating chances. So I thought it was a solid game all around for the first 55 minutes. We'll get to the last five. Believe me, we'll get to the last 5 minutes in just a bit here.
I have some words on the last 5 minutes.
Oh, totally. But yeah, I thought, first period wise, Jake Neighbors, I don't know what your impressions are of him really, but I'm very impressed, especially of his first period. It was probably his best period of the game, I would say. Probably getting some of those, first NHL game jitters, kind of off the back there. But I thought, he had generated some fantastic chances. In the second period, he had a pretty good rush with Bozak. The Bozak just couldn't pull the shot away. And I thought for the first two, I thought the Blues were the better team. And the scoreboard pretty solidly reflected that. But then the third period comes around, and this is why Blues fans hate hockey, because the Blues start out, they score all these goals, they put it 4-1, seemingly out of reach for the Avalanche. And I'm sure that Avs fans were thinking the same thing too, like, oh, this game is getting out of reach real fast, and we need to do something about it. And then the 4-2 goal goes in. And we're like, okay, well, I can't really blame Binnington on that. After all, in that third period, Jordan Binnington, just a brick wall, giving Avs fans PTSD, giving Blues fans, flashbacks of that 2019 season. And then the 4-3 goal goes in. And we're like, oh shit, this is actually going to happen. I knew it from the 4-2 goal that the Avs were going to tie this game. Like, it was just that little creeping thought. And then once the 4-3 goal goes in, I was like, just send it to overtime already. Like this, like, I don't want to see the rest of this game. Just send it to overtime. If we win, great. If we don't, we get a point. That's all I cared about at that point. And then the infamous goal, which will probably be, I thought that we already had the most controversial kicking call in the league in Vegas, and clearly that's not the case. So I think I'm with you and a lot of Avs fans when I say that should have been a goal. Flat out. Like, I'm a Blues fan, and I'm admitting that should have been a goal. But what is going through Avs fans' minds when the 4-2 goal goes in, the 4-3 goes in, and then that goal is scored and then disallowed?
It completely sucked the life out of us. And I don't want to come off as a crybaby here, but I feel like we were robbed on that one. I watched the Vegas game. I watched the Chandler Stevenson goal.
I was mad at that.
That got kicked into the net. That should not have counted.
Yep.
You go to the Toronto game. What was it? A day later, Ottawa kicks a goal into the net. That one gets allowed. I would argue of the 3 goals, including this one that went to this review, this was the least egregious.
Yes.
And this is the one that doesn't count. And this is what drives me crazy about the NHL. All anybody wants is just a crumb of consistency, just a little bit. I want to know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules are.
I'm a referee. I was a referee for 6 years, and I still don't know what the hell the rules are in the NHL. It's just baffling to me.
Yeah. I don't know what a kicking motion is. I don't know what goalie interference is. I don't know what a cross check is. I don't know what the rule book is, because the rule book might as well not even exist, because it's all up for interpretation by any referee at any point of the game to just arbitrarily make up the rules. Based on the precedence that was set in Vegas and in Ottawa, that goal
should have been a goal.
And this game should have gone to overtime, and the Avalanche should have at least gotten a point. I think the Blues might have ended up winning it in overtime just because they have the bigger roster. Just because the Avs come back and get a few bounces doesn't mean they automatically win. But the fact that we had a point taken from us due to circumstances outside of our control boils my blood a bit. And I'm glad that we waited at least a little bit before we kicked off with this one, because I would have had maybe a few other words to say as well in this. But none of us are happy right now. Jared Bednar is not very happy, and
understandable.
It sucks. It sucks to have a nice comeback like that. The entire arena's popping. You get the 3 goals in that short stretch, shorthanded, and everything feels great. No McKinnon, no Landeskog. You're battling back. You got guts taken away.
Yeah, it's a shame.
What are you supposed to do?
Exactly. I mean, I thought the Avs had all the momentum, especially in those last 5 minutes, getting those 3 quick goals. It was actually more of the last 7 minutes. But those 3 quick goals, I mean, it proved that, the Avs had worn the Blues out, honestly. I mean, there's a difference between wearing a team out and then just like skating circles around them. And I thought that the Avs, just with their speed, kind of tired the Blues out. That's the better word rather than wore out. But it was just this puck was going everywhere. Makar was just unbelievable in those last 5 minutes, and he proves that he is a Norris freaking candidate, especially in those last 5 minutes. And he piggybacked this team, and they got it. And JT Compher, getting to the net, getting those greasy goals, that's a playoff-like goal. I know it's game 1 for the Blues, and what is it, like game 2 or 3 for the Avs? Game 2. But those are the playoff goals that get you far. And I think that's why it sucks. If we're going to see that kind of thing in the playoffs, this is going to be the most controversial playoffs in NHL history. And I think serious changes need to be made. It's ridiculous.
And the one before that, and the one before that, because we don't know what the rules are. And the rules change in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like this cross-checking thing that we're doing right now in the league, it's going to evaporate when the playoffs start because the rules are made up and nothing is real.
Right. Hockey isn't real. Hence, Jack Johnson scoring the first goal for the Avs in the entire season. I mean, nothing's real. But yeah, you are right about the Jack Johnson thing. I mean, he's depth. at the end of the day, he's defensive depth.
He's better than
probably
Curtis McDermott, as we
he's
found
better
out.
than whoever you put in. Yeah, Curtis
game.
McDermott. I don't even know who that guy is. So I mean, that I know him, but I don't know anything about him. You know.
Well, all you need to know is Braden Shen's second goal of the game to put the Blues up 2-0. Curtis McDermott's defense on that play should have him cut from his contract tomorrow. That guy should never see the ice again. That guy made me miss Jack Johnson. That is one of the worst defensive plays I've ever seen. And that's not, I'm not exaggerating. That's not just clickbait trying to get views on this. That
you're right.
Sucked. That was horrible. This guy does nothing. All he does is take slap shots from the point. And no offense to Braden Shen, but that's not Connor McDavid. You shouldn't be getting walked that bad.
No, you're right.
It's inexcusable. You should not be stepping foot in the lineup again.
Definitely. So, all right. So, rambling about this game for 10 minutes. I think we've kind of said all that we needed to say, especially about that goal. I'm with you. I think a lot of the rational, sane Blues fans are with you when that goal absolutely should have counted. And I feel bad. You know, I feel bad because I feel dirty after a win like that because I don't feel like, you know, we deserve to get both points. I think that at least the Avs deserved 1 point, especially after that last bit of the game. I don't think the Avs played bad at all, you know, considering the players that were out.
It was a valiant effort. Shorthanded team, no McKinnon, no Landeskog, no Taves, no Nichushkin, and again, can't believe I'm saying this, no Jack Johnson, which apparently hurts because it puts McDermott in the lineup. It was a valiant effort. I would have loved to see them get a point out of it, but at the end of the day, it's game 2 of 82. This isn't going to sink our season. I like the effort I saw late in this game. There are things that need to be ironed out, and I don't want this to come across as that's the only reason that the Avalanche lost this game, because it's not true. Kemper could have played better. We needed another save or two. If we get another save on one of those Perron shots or on the Justin Falk goal, then this game goes to overtime regardless of the kicked goal. And so it's not the only reason they lost. It's one of them. We should have gotten a point out of this game because regardless of getting a save or two or not, that was the situation that we had. So it sucks to have it taken out of your hands, but there were things we could have done to not have it in that position in the first place.
Exactly right. So, all right, I think we should get to some of the questions. I'm going to just select a couple here. The first one, this is from King Angus. He says, how did Neighbors look? I can already tell you how good he looked. He looked fantastic in the first. I thought in the second and third, he kind of, you know, let his game slip a little bit. But, you know, for the most part, fine performance. You know, I don't think it was bad. What did you think? Just a couple sentences. What did you think of Jake Neighbors?
I thought Jake Neighbors was all right. I mean, for a guy starting out in his NHL career, for the most part, it's not a lot more than you can expect from him. He brought some energy, especially early on, like you said, but it seemed like as the game got a little more intense, maybe some of the pressure got to him, but that's about all I have on Neighbors.
Yeah. This from Joe Suntag. He says, can we not do that again? I don't think my heart can take it. I mean, you'll have to take that up with NHL refereeing and our shitty sieve of a defense. But I feel like, you know, I feel like, I don't want to really do that again. I'm sure Avs fans don't really want to go through that again.
You're telling me it's game 2 of the season, and I already feel right at home because we're digging into the Dylan Kakuras of the world. Like, it's infuriating sometimes.
Right.
Like, you're telling me, oh, we don't want to do this again. Imagine feeling like that, but for 3 days leading up to this game, because it just the injuries add up more and more.
Of course, yeah. Well, Blues fans dealt with that a lot last season, so but I still feel bad. I seriously do. This absolutely was not St. Louis's game to win. So they did anyway. I'm not going to complain about that, but I'm going to complain that I just need the referees to figure it the frick out, because that was ridiculous. Colin Smith says thoughts on the defensive lineups. I thought they were okay. I mean, obviously, you know, you're trying to, you know, see where people fit right now. Obviously, it would have been nice to have a Perunovich with Wallman there, but I thought, you know, Wallman was fine. I thought Scandella was fine. That's a big question mark for Blues fans this year. I thought, you know, both of them were fine, and that's really all that matters. And Parayko looks healthy. I think that's the best thing, is that Parayko looks healthy here. This from Zach Longdead. He says, will the Blues' third period be worse than last year's second period? This game is a pretty good indicator, isn't it? I think the Blues traded their terrible second periods for their terrible third periods now. So, but I mean, was there a really big difference between the Blues in the second and the Blues in the third from your perspective?
Not exactly. It just seemed like for that little stretch there, the puck just actually went in. Because if we're being realistic, this game should have been tied sooner. The Jordan Binnington stood on his head.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, we talked on when I brought you on a couple episodes ago. Me and my new co-host Christian Belay have talked about the Blues a little bit leading up to this season. That this St. Louis's team season hinges on Jordan Binnington. And
Absolutely.
tonight was an example of that. The save on Mikko Rantanen, the save on Burakovsky, those saves back to back, by the way. And we just got a couple goals by him at the end. And like you were saying earlier, by the time the Blues were up 3-0 in this game, the Avalanche were out shooting them 12-3 in that period. The Blues just happened to have two of those pucks go in before Burakovsky made it 3-1. So I wouldn't say a huge difference, but the Avalanche just found a way to beat Binnington towards the end with some greasy goals. And if I'm gonna be brutally honest here, my thoughts on the Blues weren't that they were amazing tonight against the shorthanded Avalanche team. We're gonna have a rematch later in the month, and I don't feel my opinion has changed on how a healthy Avalanche lineup would fare.
No, you're right. I agree. A healthy Avalanche beats a healthy Blues 7 times out of 10, I think. That's not like from a biased perspective. That's from a look at these two teams on paper and tell me how you really feel,
4 times out of 7. Is that too soon? Sorry.
Oh my. All right. Well, it's been nice talking to Griffin Youngs of the It Avs It Is. We're going to do one more question. This from Russell Clark. He says, did we just get really lucky? Yes. Yeah, we got a little lucky there.
You said it, not me.
We got lucky. You can say it. It's fine. I mean, it's true. It's absolutely true. But I think, the refs screwed the Avs today. And it's not very often that me, a Blues fan, can properly say that we got saved by the refs. We absolutely did in this game. And it's just, it's really unfortunate. So, okay, now for a brand new segment that I'm doing this year. We're going to do the MVPs of the game, the MVP for the Blues of the game, and then the MUP, the most useless player of the game. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to tally them up all the way at the end, and then whichever one gets the most, points is going to give away like a shirt with their name on it or something. I don't know. But all right, so MVPs, from your perspective, who do you think deserves it for the Blues?
For the Blues, it's got to be David Perron. But those 2 goals he scored, absolute snipes. I would have liked to see one saved by Darcy Kemper for the Avalanche that would have had this game tied at the very end. But it's also hard to take it away from Jordan Binnington with that performance, especially late in this game. Even with those goals that went in for the Avs at the end, this game could have been tied a lot sooner and could have ended in regulation for the Avs if he doesn't make those saves on Rantanen and Burakovsky and on several of those deflections. If they get that Binnington for the rest of the season, this is a playoff team.
Absolutely. I thought he played phenomenal. I really want to give it to Binnington. If it wasn't that third goal that went in, that third goal, I think that's something that he should have, especially after, the other saves that he had made prior in this sequence. I think that's a goal he should have had. So for that reason, pretty much exclusively, I think I'm going to agree with you on David Perron there. I thought, the guy who was a game time decision ended up being, the guy who ends up scoring 2 goals, which end up ending as the tie and game winners. So, that's always nice to see, especially from a player like David Perron. So, okay, MUP now this time. Who is the most useless player on the Blues? Who is the guy that you saw that were like, oh, wow, he does not look good, and we're skating circles around him right now?
Honestly, I don't look at other teams and think, wow, this guy sucks, but the one guy that kind of stood out to me in that regard was Robert Bortuzzo, especially after some of his whining after he took some penalties. That stuff always makes me roll my eyes. Like, buddy,
of course,
the ref's right there. Like, everyone saw you do that, and to give him the like that, I've always find that annoying. But the Blues defense, especially late in the third period, got a bit tired out and could have benefited from being a little more physical, which is something that Bortuzzo brings to the table, as well as some untimely penalties from him during that game as well. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably give it to him.
It looks like this one is going to be our first tie, so we're going to have to take this to a poll because we have two different thoughts on that. You got Bortuzzo. I got James Neal in this one. I thought he was
actually
just
a great one because I forgot
invisible.
he was here.
I thought he was
totally
just
forgot James Neal
invisible,
was
and
on
there
the
were a
team.
couple times where he was giving away the puck in the second period, and that's why he didn't touch the ice the last 5 minutes of the game, is because of that. It was just too risky to have him on the ice. So for that, I'm going to give it to James Neal. So would you like to change your answer to James Neal, or are we sticking with Bortuzzo? Okay.
No, that's a much better answer because you literally just reminded me that James Neal is on the Blues because I literally did not notice him once tonight. If you didn't mention that, I would have completely forgotten James Neal was on the Blues.
So, all right. So our MVP of the night goes to DP57, and our MUP is going to James Neal. So those are our first nominees. Griffin Youngs, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime, as always. Can we trust you to come on for the next Blues Avs game?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And then go ahead and plug, where you're from. Obviously, you're from THP and Tell It As It Is, but where else can we find you?
Well, you can find my show at Tell It Avs It Is. We have just started season 2 of our podcast. I am now joined by my wonderful co-host, Christian Boulay of the Denver Nosebleed blog. And we are taking this show to another level this season. It's not just me and my uncoherent ramblings. We've got some structure here now. We've got a new fancy intro. We've had our last 3 episodes have shattered all of our download records, and we are ready to take this show to another level. Christian is outstanding. So even if you can't stand me, come to the show for Christian because he is great and he has given me a ton of help recently. But you can find it, the Tell It Avs It Is podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. It does not matter. You can follow me at G Youngs NHL. Like I said, follow the show at Tell It Avs It Is. If you want to follow Christian for his takes, it's at Christian_Boulay. And his blog at Denver Nosebleed, singular, not plural. We've got some great stuff coming over the next couple months at the Tell It Avs It Is podcast. So if you guys don't hate me yet, maybe give us a listen over there. And we're very, very excited for this season.
The only reason we'd hate you is because you're an Avs fan. But I'm telling my fans right now, I'm telling my followers that this guy, he's one of the good ones. He's one of the good Avs guys. Always a homie. Always welcome on the channel, even though he is an Avs fan. I think we can let that slide for a couple episodes here. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this segment. And without further ado, take it away again, BFR.